The windshield wipers struggled against the thick snow plastering the glass. Lisa gripped the wheel tightly, her knuckles white as the winter storm roared outside. Visibility was nearly zero, and the headlights of her SUV barely illuminated the narrow, forested road. Ella sat in the passenger seat, cheerfully attempting to keep spirits bright by singing Jingle Bells. Ben sat quietly in the back seat, cradling his stuffed reindeer, his wide eyes staring out. "Mom, you're supposed to sing with me," Ella chirped, poking Lisa gently in the arm. Lisa forced a smile. "Sorry, sweetie. Just trying to focus on the road. Let's save the singing for when we're at the cabin, okay?" She wasn't in the mood for carols, not with her nerves already frayed by the drive and the haunting memories of another Christmas Eve long ago. It had been years since she last spoke to her brother Jack, and the ache of that absence weighed on her every Christmas. The rift had been her fault. She'd shut him out when he needed her most. Ella turned to the back seat. "Ben, come on, sing with me. You love Christmas songs." Ben shook his head. "I'm too tired." And cold, Lisa glanced at the thermometer on the dashboard. The temperature had dropped below freezing, and the storm was worsening by the second. Snow clung to the windows, creating a claustrophobic cocoon of white. They were deep in the woods now, far from the glow of town. When they finally pulled up to the cabin, Lisa felt a wave of relief. It stood sturdy and silent, its dark logs contrasting sharply against the snowy landscape. A thick layer of snow blanketed the roof, and the porch light flickered faintly in the wind. "All right, kids," Lisa said, parking the car. "Let's grab our stuff and get inside before we freeze." The interior of the cabin was cozy but unkempt, as though it had been abandoned in a hurry. Dust coated the wooden furniture, and the fireplace was cold and empty. Lisa set to work immediately, lighting the fire and unpacking their Christmas decorations. "Okay," she said with forced cheer. "Who wants to help decorate the tree?" Ben perked up slightly, though his movements were sluggish. Ella, ever the optimist, grabbed the small box of ornaments and began stringing tinsel along the tree branches. Lisa retrieved a set of stockings and hung them over the fireplace. The stockings looked out of place against the weathered stone. As the children worked, Lisa ventured outside to check the generator. The cold hit her like a physical force, and the wind howled as she trudged through the snow. She was halfway to the shed when something caught her eye, dark red streaks against the otherwise pristine snow. She stopped, her breath clouding in the air. Blood. The stains formed a trail of footprints leading from the edge of the woods directly to the cabin door. Her stomach churned. "It's probably an injured animal," she whispered to herself, though the footprints were unmistakably human. When she returned inside, she forced a smile. "Everything's fine, kids." The generator's running, but the image of the bloody footprints wouldn't leave her mind. Christmas Eve dawned bleak and grey, with the blizzard showing no signs of letting up. The family tried to maintain a festive spirit. Lisa set up a table for cookie decorating. Ella insisted on adding a star to the top of the tree. But as the day wore on, strange things began to happen. "Mom, do you hear that?" Ella said, her voice hesitant. "Hear what?" Lisa asked, wiping flour from her hands. "Bells, like Christmas bells." Lisa listened, but heard nothing. Ella shrugged it off, but a few minutes later, Ben let out a shriek. "Ben, what's wrong?" Lisa rushed to his side. "There was someone outside," he said, his voice trembling. "I saw them in the woods. They were staring at me." Lisa peered through the frosted window, but saw only endless snow. "It's just a storm," she assured him, though her own unease was growing. That night, as Lisa locked up, she noticed something that made her heart race. The bloody footprints were back. This time, they led in a perfect circle around the cabin. Lisa barely slept. Her dreams were filled with images of red snow and shadowy figures lurking just beyond the cabin. By morning, she was exhausted, but determined to keep the children calm. The tree lights flickered ominously, casting strange shadows across the room. Lisa frowned. The power seemed stable, but the lights danced as though controlled by an unseen hand. While cleaning, Lisa discovered an old ornament tucked beneath the couch cushions. It was a delicate glass bauble, painted with a snowman, and inscribed with a single name, Jack. Memories flooded back, Jack giving her this very ornament. Lisa remembered their last Christmas together before their fight. Guilt gnawed at her. Later, Lisa noticed Ben acting strangely. He was sitting by the fire, staring into the flames. "Ben, are you okay?" she asked. He turned to her slowly, his eyes wide. "He says he's coming inside," Ben whispered. The storm outside raged on, and the cabin seemed to come alive with sinister energy. Lisa awoke in the middle of the night to the sound of heavy footsteps above her. Grabbing a flashlight, she crept upstairs, but the attic was empty. As she descended, she noticed the bloodied footprints had somehow appeared inside the cabin, leading directly to her children's bedrooms. "Ella, Ben," she shouted, throwing open their doors. Both children were safe, but terrified. "Mom," Ella whispered, clutching her blanket. "There's someone in the house." Lisa's flashlight beam swept across the room and landed on a single bloody handprint smeared across the window pane. Lisa's mind raced as she pieced together the strange occurrences. She retrieved the ornament with Jack's name and inspected it closely, discovering a hidden compartment inside. Within it was a small, crumpled letter. The letter, written in Jack's handwriting, was a desperate plea for forgiveness. "Lisa, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I needed your help that Christmas, but you wouldn't let me in. The storm has claimed me. It's more than just snow. It's alive. It remembers. It's coming for you." Tears filled Lisa's eyes. Jack's disappearance hadn't been a simple accident. He died in the storm, as she'd refused to take him in. And now, something was using his memory to torment her. Jack's final Christmas Eve haunted Lisa not only because of her guilt, but because of the complexity of their past. It had been years since they'd been close. Jack had always been the reckless one, the sibling who drank too much, made poor decisions, and seemed to drift from one crisis to another. That fateful night, Jack had shown up on her doorstep unannounced, desperate and disheveled. His clothes were soaked, his breath carried the sharp tang of whiskey. "Lisa, I need a place to stay for the night," he'd said, shivering. "Please, just until the morning," but Lisa hesitated. Ben was just a toddler at the time, Ella barely 7. The memory of their father, an angry, violent man who had stumbled into their home drunk more times than she could count, had risen in her mind like a ghost. Jack wasn't their father. She knew that, but in that moment the resemblance was too much. His slurred words, his unsteady movements, they all reminded her of the nights she'd huddled with Jack under their bed, listening to plates smash and fists pound against doors. "I can't, Jack, not like this," her voice trembled. "Come on, Lisa. I'm not going to hurt anyone. It's freezing out here," he'd pleaded, his voice cracking. But she'd stood firm, her fear for her children outweighing her guilt. "You can't stay here," she had repeated, quieter now. He'd stared at her, the betrayal clear in his glassy eyes. "You're all I have left," he'd whispered before walking away into the snow. She'd watched him go, her heart breaking but her feet rooted in place. The police had found Jack's abandoned car days later, but no sign of him. Lisa had told herself she had made the right choice for her kids, but now, trapped in the cabin years later, she wasn't so sure. Determined to protect her children once more, Lisa ventured outside into the storm, following the bloody footprints to a clearing in the woods. There, under a blood-red moon, she saw him. "Jack," she whispered. The figure turned, revealing a grotesque, snow-covered face. Its body was twisted with shards of ice, broken ornaments, and tattered garlands. The creature hissed, its voice a chilling blend of Jack's and something ancient. "Why didn't you let me in, Lisa?" it growled. Lisa fell to her knees, clutching the ornament. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I should have been there for you. I should have saved you." The creature lunged, but Lisa smashed the ornament to the ground. The sound shattered through the storm like a gunshot, and the creature dissolved into snow. By morning, the storm had passed. Lisa and the children packed their belongings and left the cabin, shaken but alive. As they drove away, Ella glanced out the window and whispered, "Mom, look." Lisa followed her gaze. In the snow, just barely visible, were faint, bloody footprints leading back into the woods. "Is it over?" Ella asked. Lisa gripped the wheel tighter, her heart heavy. "I hope so, sweetheart. I hope so."